Japan. I'm session chair of this session, and I organized this session with Dr. Yuttana Mona from Chiang Mai University, Thailand. And the first speaker of this session is Professor Hidamari Chattopadhyay, from
Javapur
University. And the title is Augmentation of the VAWT with emphasis on Indian energy scenario. Let's welcome Professor Chattopadhyay, please.
Thank you, Professor. Very good morning. It's 10:30 in India time. So we are talking about augmentation of vertical axis wind turbine, and with some introduction of on Indian energy scenario. So basically, both it combines two things. One is the current Indian energy scenario, and second is some scientific insight into the harnessing more energy from vertical axis wind turbine. So they individually deserve a lot of attentions. However, I try to combine them because why we need to augment energy, we must understand in the context of the country. So next. So this is well known that wind energy, if you look at this conference is about energy and power, and basically wind energy is one of the most important thing in the renewable energy section area. Like this is clean, the emission is zero, safe, and sort of you can say also not that expensive. And just a minute, I cannot minimize it. So global, you see that today the cumulative wind power is of the order of 35 gigawatt, and now we have a target to increase the wind energy to 60 gigawatt, because as we know that we are a country with a very huge population. We have around 140 crores of people, and every every 6 person, one is going to be an Indian. Basically, after China, India is the second most populous country, and it is projected that India will be crossing the population of China very shortly. So we really require a lot of power. And in fact, if you look at this, that what is the per capita electricity consumption? So this is from British Petroleum data. And of course, a country with a cold climate will require a lot of power. For example, Iceland, the power consumption is very high. And of course, these are in Arctic region, say Norway or Canada or Sweden. However, what is the real demand for an average and good lifestyle should come from a data of United States or Australia. And however, we are consuming a very less amount of power. So basically, the projected power that we really need for a better living, for when we become a developed nation, that will be is very high. We require a lot of power. So compared to say country like Australia or Switzerland, you see we are just 10% of power we are consuming per capita. And considering the number of people, the total power requirement is very high. A lot of power is needed, but at the same time, we have to understand that pollution is a big issue. And we have to add power, we have to generate more energy, but that should be within the ambit of the global regulations or global view on combating the pollution, the carbon mitigation, all these things. So there has to be strategically renewable energy has to be added to go to that level of power. Like this is again very important these days. particularly the recently done COP26, the conference of parties on the global environmental issue has just recently concluded. So this, under this background, this is very important to look into that, the climate change mitigation aspect. And if you look at the greenhouse gas emission, you can see that the contribution from sector wise like this, like the electricity generation, it is the largest part of the pie. And industry, the transportation, they are all sharing, but the energy generation in the form of electricity or other energy, they are the largest contributor to the greenhouse gas emission pie. That is one information we need to keep in mind. So if you look into the fossil fuels and industrial processes, and if you look into the country wise, you see China is using maximum fossil fuels in terms of the greenhouse gas emission. So of course, India is also a country which depends a lot on coal. We have a good coal reserve, and in years to come, we will be continue to use coal because that cannot be so easily phased out. Of course, we are going in leaps and bounds in renewables, but coal cannot be so easily replaced. In fact, that was one of the point of point of contention in the COP summit about phasing out coal. Like many of the advanced countries, they are emphasizing on the phrase phasing out. But the thing is that phasing out is a little bit a far-field goal for a country like India, where the maximum power comes from coal, and the growth of renewable though is there, it will take some time to actually totally make coal out of the scenery. So you can see that even under that fact, we can see that India is only even 1/4 of China in terms of greenhouse gas emission from fossil fuel. But however, we are not really going to neglect this. We are having a pledge to go on adding renewables. So particularly apart from the phasing out of coal, we also need to target the net zero emissions, because this global warming is a factor, very clear factor, because of the occasional severe storms, floods, all these things. So this is and in fact it is being predicted that a lot of land will be underwater in future because of this temperature rise of the environment. So this is very important, and this net zero emission we are targeting by 2070. At least that is the official stand. And renewable energy has to be there, has to increase by a significant factor so that we can achieve that. And just 10 years from now, we want to increase our share of renewable to 50%. So now it is about much less than that, 15 to 20% at this moment, the renewable. But quickly in 9-10 years, we will have half the energy from renewable. And as I said, that we share 70% of global population, but our cumulative greenhouse emission are less. So if you see per capita wise, this country is not contributing very much in terms of pollution or greenhouse gas emission. So basically, as I have shown, that our energy consumption is very, very low, considering that the country is still in the grip of poverty. There are a lot of people below who has the average annual income below the what we call poverty line, and therefore the energy consumptions must be increasing so that they get a comfortable living, and we have enough scope to increase that without contributing to the pollution aspect. So this is the conference of parties just recently concluded in Glasgow this year. Without going into that, so as we are talking of that adding to energy pie from renewables. So renewables is a big area. So many type of renewables are there. There is biomass, there is solar energy, wind energy, geothermal energy, all this kind of things. So it has to be understood that whatever small contribution we can make, we must go for that. because ultimately we need a lot of energy. The energy demand per individual will go on increasing, so we cannot reduce that. At the same time, we have to look into the pollution aspect. We have to check the global warming. So whatever we can do for enhancing the energy, for generating more output without disturbing the environment significantly, has to be done, whatever we can do. Under that background, we are studying augmentation of horizontal, vertical axis wind turbine. So as you know, that there are vertical axis and horizontal axis wind turbines, and if you have large wind velocity, so far the horizontal axis wind turbine is very popular. But the thing is, a horizontal wind turbine that will require that wind flows to the blade in a way that it generates the torque properly. So the wind has to face the blade surfaces, the rotor. Now wind comes from a particular direction, and therefore the rotor has to be oriented with the wind, and therefore some kind of driving mechanism is required in a horizontal axis wind turbine. So though it can generate a lot of power, one drawback is that it required a driving mechanism to face the direction of the wind. But the vertical axis wind turbine, for example, here, if you saw some of the vertical axis wind turbine, this reference is given here from literature. I am showing you some of the actual vertical axis wind turbine. So they have different shape, and you can see the turbine rotates around a vertical axis. So there is no question of facing the direction of wind. So unlike horizontal axis wind turbine, the vertical axis wind turbine can face the direction of can receive wind from any direction and generate power. So vertical axis wind turbine is getting some special attention, particularly for low wind velocity and for relatively low power applications. So what we can say, micro wind turbine kind of situations for generating low level of power, whatever we can extract available, say from a building top or from a low wind region. So the typical output may be little lower, but in case of low wind velocity, putting a horizontal axis wind turbine is problematic, because considering the mechanism for driving it to face the wind, some additional power will be needed. So for such situations, vertical axis wind turbine is better. And I'm just showing some pictures of vertical axis wind turbine, and these are of drag type. So drag type wind turbine actually follows the principle that the airflow follows the contour of the surfaces, and the drag generates the torque needed. Now the next slide is showing some vertical axis wind turbine which are of leap type. Again, they are vertical axis turbine. They are located in different places, and this is these are the references from which we have taken the pictures, and you can see that there are a lot of designs. There are different type of designs which one can implement. So there is a question of aesthetics as well, because if you are integrating them to your building premises or on a say highway or such places, the aesthetics part, it should looks like a sculpture kind of thing. Then it serves two type of purposes. While it generates energy, at the same time it gives a speciality to special visuals. It becomes appealing. People can see it as a special visual. So there are a lot of design modifications also. And as I said, even an incremental increase in efficiency, that is important. So we should not neglect incremental efficiency. So there is always scope for improving the designs to generate whatever we can do for improving the power output. So again, this is some combined. So these wind turbines, they are combining both drag and lift type features, and therefore they operate with more or higher efficiency. So just in this context, we are talking of the global energy scenario. If you look at this, that this is the, if you look at the energy pie, you see that wind energy is increasing very fast. You see, after the hydro is a renewable energy which was already there now, which is older in historical sense, but wind started being added from this millennium, and wind is increasing very fast. Of course, solar is also increasing very fast. And if you look at the total wind power capacity in India, I already told about the value. So there is an exponential rise in the energy generation from wind. Now, if you talking of the vertical axis wind turbine, actually we need a strategy like where to deploy them. As I said, for the low wind places, so those who are familiar with the geography of India, there are number of states. So we divide it into north, east, south, and west region. And if you look at this, that wind, actually there is a lot of scope. Wind has not that much come up to that level, to the level of solar, because everywhere throughout the India, except certain hilly places, solar energy is abundant, but wind, the energy content is somewhat less in certain places. But in the certain western region, we are generating wind energy, and of course certain places in the North India. So these are typical distribution. Because of the lack of time, I will not go into this, but this shows that there are a lot of places in India where wind is less explored. So this addition of energy from wind can be beneficial, can add to the total grid power available, and we have to look into that. So at the same time, what type of wind turbine that has to be used, that will depend on the local wind power intensity, how much energy is available. And if the wind intensity is not that high, it will be prudent to use vertical axis wind turbine, particularly of low scale, and they may be used in low height or over the buildings. So this is some of the work we did on the energy content. So I will not go into that. I am just skipping this. So, but these methods we used to estimate the wind energy potential. So how much, before putting a wind turbine, it is important to appreciate how much energy one can get from the area based on the weather data. So there are methods, like we have also developed some methods and equations for assessing the wind energy. And for example, let's look at the city Kolkata. So Kolkata is the capital of West Bengal and one of the most important city in India. So you can see the typical wind speed is not that high, and of course the summer month we have higher wind. You know that summer is very grueling here, and then in the winter the wind is more still. So there are some annual year to year there is a lot of variations also. Basically by nature, wind the flow is stochastic in nature, and you will get a lot of variations, and you have to consider that to calculate the wind energy density or to assess the energy potential in a particular place. So we have done some assessment of wind energy in Kolkata. So this is related to the mathematical modeling, and I will skip into that because that is not the major interest, but I just want to integrate the augmentation part with the requirement in India, the energy part. So the mathematical formulations part I am going to skip, but then you see that wind speed data, there are a lot of variation. So year wise also you can see that year wise also the average wind speed is changing a lot. Basically, you know that global weather is a dynamic phenomena. Things like El Nino, the appearance of El Nino or otherwise may affect the weather pattern, and there are a lot of change. even the ocean surface temperature, everything is a factor. And it's highly stochastic in nature, the mean wind speed. However, there is a lot of variation, and sometimes data are available for a low speed, low height probe. And of course, different height, as we know that higher the height, the energy potential is higher. So two level values we have calculated. And then the year-wise, season-wise, there is some kind of variation. So that is very interesting and important to remember when making a strategy for harnessing wind power, that there will be local variation, seasonal, and year-wise there may be variation. So all these factors has to be kept in mind. So I am really not an expert on that area, but at least this kind of information also we are collecting on the local cities and areas where about the stochastic distribution of wind. So similarly, some of the other cities like Shillong. Shillong is a city in northeastern Meghalaya. So that is a hill station. The weather is very pleasant. And you again see that mean wind speed. The wind speed is within say 3 meters per second. So even it is a hill station, the wind power is not very high. So like this is Shillong data. And if you look at the wind power density, the typical wind power density is of the order of 8 watt per meter square. So this is not really a very large number. 8 watt is not a very, so therefore the energy content is not that high, but that does not mean we should allow it to go waste. Even whatever energy is there, by improving the design, if you can harness that, that will add to the total energy. So that scope we should have. So similarly, actually this is the areas where we have generated data is like here. So Delhi is somewhere here, and this is the part I am talking about, like this Kolkata here, and Shillong, this is the hill station. You can see this is the Himalaya region, and like another area, Imphal, we have the data for there. And like in one plot, like the places from where we got the data is Kolkata, Asansol, Guwahati, Shillong, and Imphal. And you have the average wind speed data. So we have done some analysis, and we can see that the average wind energy potential, you can see that this is the potential. So out of the places we have seen, the Kolkata has around 20 watt per meter square. This is nearby Kolkata, 200 kilometers from Kolkata. This is again in the Himalayan region. This is a hill station, as I mentioned, and this is near the border of Myanmar. So this is again northeastern region of India. And all these locations, they are not generating that much of wind power, but there is some potential which can be harnessed. So this is the wind power density map, and you see that these zones are really can give you lot higher wind power, and there are already some plants are there. And I am talking about that where vertical axis wind turbine can be meaningful. And of course, since the energy is low, so we can think of augmenting. So again, this augmentation is a buzzword. If you talk of say other energy sectors like heat exchangers, we are always striving for enhancement of the transport or augmentation of the transport. That is, we are looking for more and more energy, and therefore strategy to do that is very much important. So there is possibilities of vertical axis wind turbine to provide more energy by some augmentation strategy. So as we already understood that there is some difficulties, difficulty in self-starting, low initial torque, and low CP. So augmentation technique can help them. And the augmentation technique, the principle is either you can converge the wind flow from larger area to smaller area and obtain the higher mass flow rate. And also sometimes you use the Venturi effect. like you provide a sort of venturi-like geometry, which will increase the velocity. And then when it interacts with the rotor blade, it will create higher torque. So the augmentation things can be done by using a diffuser, guide vane, stator, shroud, plate, such things. So if I try to generalize this, the augmentation devices can be put as a single directional flow inlet. So this is on a particular direction. If you are certain about which direction the wind is mainly coming, you can put the augmentation device here, or you can put a omnidirectional flow input. That means it will be all through the domain, and you can try to modify the outlet. And also there is some scope of augmentation when you integrate with a building. So if you look into the pictures, again, the source is the basic idea comes from the paper of Chiang et al., renewable energy. And you see that this, if you want to influence a drag type wind turbine, what you are doing, you are putting this in the inlet side, you are putting guide vane. Okay, so this is the inlet, and you are putting some guide vane like this. So they are helping you to augment the power. Similarly, if you can put a deflector plate, again, this is from Kim et al., the work of Kim et al., who has used a deflector plate. So there are two vertical axis wind turbine, or there can be multiple. So if you put a deflector plate, basically, then again, wind energy is focused to the particular location. Okay, so that again help in augmenting the power. Similarly, see, if this we talked of single direction. Why single direction? Because this is the vertical axis wind turbine, but you are putting the plate on one side. So wind can come from any other side, but you may choose to put here if you know the wind is generally or most prevalent from this side. So, but this will have limitations. So in the omnidirectional flow, so all the directions you put this, what we call cowling or vane, sometimes stator vane. So this is put in all the direction. So they give like a converging type of effect on the flow. So the flow accelerates and helps to increase the power. So again, this is from Yao et al., and they act like wind boosters. And omnidirectional, again, drag type, another different designs are already been proposed. Like you can see up stator vanes. So you have 3 rotors and you are putting 3 stator vanes. So they has to be aerodynamically designed. And as you see here, they have to be aerodynamically designed to provide maximum output. And this is omnidirectional, but because you are not putting the vanes in one particular direction, but all the sides you have provided that. So there has to be more cost to this, but this will generate more power. Like there are some other directions, because time is short, I'm showing only this, like omnidirectional leap type, what we call omnidirectional guide vane. So you have put some guide vanes designs. So some in the literature, some value is recommended. So that can lead to enhanced energy. And now outlet, in the outlet, so the rotor is here. Now the outlet side, you can put a device like this, or you can use a vent tube or chimney. So actually they help in the downstream wake. They help the aerodynamic flow in a manner that ultimately the lift is, the more lift is created, so that generates higher amount of power. So that there is a typical patented design, what is known as envelopes. So again, this envelopes, there is a particular profile. So turbine is somewhere inside, and this turbine is somewhere here, but this flow is coming from this side. So it's actually generating it's like a funnel shape which is generating perpendicular flow on the blades, and ultimately which can like 4 here is the wind turbine is located. So like this is the channeling and accelerating wind pipe. Then there is a Venturi effect provided in this part. Then the wind turbine is installed here. So try to understand that this is a vertical axis wind turbine. Then you have a diffuser again. So that is for again energy recovery. So with this, we can generate energy, augment energy. This is a design by LED et al. And which is published in Energy. So they're still very rarely used, but there is a scope. They are mostly in research level, but some of them are being implemented. For example, if you look at this, this building integrated. So in urban area, wind stream is normally turbulent. And if you look at the certain areas like the edge and corner and ridge, there is more pressure difference. So you have to strategically put, if you look at here, that at the edge of the building. So this is a design, patented design, cross flex. So that is integrated with building. So that is providing augmented energy from a vertical axis wind turbine. So like this is a picture from Chiang et al. A lot of work has been done by Chiang et al. And you can see that here this V-shape roof, and we are using this place where more wind energy is available, or rather you can say more energy can be harnessed in this sort of formation. So to summarize that whatever has been done in literature, actually there is a lot of scope to do this thing. I'll finish very shortly, but in a few 2 minutes. But just the idea is that there are augmentation technique where you can, which you can use to wind turbines for getting some gain in the output. So if you look at this, the summarize, trying to summarize the performance comparison, and you can see a straight plate for a 2 blade Savonias or 3 blade Savonias, 2 cases, so augmentation is around 30%. So that is even that is good enough. But for example, if you use omnidirectional guide vane, so around the blades, if you put the guide vanes, you can get, the literature is telling that you can get even more than 3 times energy. And of course, by putting stator is of the order of 30%. Or if by putting duct, you can increase the energy just double of the original. So there is a lot of scope. Is a nascent research area. The final word is not still there. That you have to mind. We have to do more research. Like different persons are proposing different research, different different methods of augmenting. So there are more experimental work, numerical work are needed, but they can actually contribute to the energy pie. They can help in harnessing energy where the potential is not that very high. So in cities, on the top of say multi-story buildings or industrial rooftops, one can try to use vertical axis wind turbine with augmentation possibility. So these are some of the concluding remarks. I have already shown a table where different type of augmentation techniques with the result is summarized, and I have also talked about the different potentials in Indian cities, and if you want to increase energy, we can go to that. You can use this technology. It can be a focused research area. So in the limited time, I just tried to summarize the things, and I thank you for your kind attention. Over to Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Chattopadhyay. Because the presentation time is over 30 minutes, so we can only accept short questions. Are there any short questions from audience? I have a short question. You're showing that in southern area of India, the wind turbine electricity generation is very much more than the northern area. What is the reason in the northern area why the power generation is so wind power generation is so less? What is the geographical and the meteorological reason for that?
So yeah, that's a very interesting thing. Basically, if you look at the geometry of India, this it's like a V. The southern region is a V surrounded by Arabic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean. I'm sorry, this Bay of Bengal and Indian Ocean. So southern regions are coastal states, and the width is less. And the northern region we have Himalayas. So the Himalayas mountain act as a barrier, and even in certain hilly region there are valleys. So between the hills there may not be very good flow. So wherever is the city, they are located in places which are surrounded by mountain. So mountain top there are a lot of energy, but in the cities they are in the valley and wind flow is not high. And also this is land. The other countries are surrounding the northern part, whereas the southern part is exposed to the oceans and seas. So typically we have more energy generation potential from wind in the southern states.
Okay, I understand. Thank you very much for your wonderful presentation.
Thank you, Professor Matsura. It was a pleasure, and thank you to all participants. Thank you.
Let's move on to the next second presentation.
Afternoon, everyone. Yes, can I have my screen share?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes. Next presentation is by Dr. Pongru Engyat. The title is Applying Sustainable City Assessment Framework for Chiang and Future Urban Development. Please.
Afternoon, everyone. I share my screen.
Excuse me, sound is mute. Sound is mute. Sound is mute. Can you?
Sound is smooth, right?
Okay.
Mute.
You have to share with the share the audio.
Share the
When
audio.
you're sharing, so share the audio on the left corner.
Done, okay. Okay, man. Can you hear? Okay.
Hello, I'm Vivat Pongmitya, student of graduate program in Energy Engineering, Faculty of Engineering, Chiang Mai University. Chiang Mai is unique in her medium size with potential to be the regional hub. Chiang Mai is the second largest city in Thailand, located in a strategic location and surrounded by diverse and nice natural environment, and is the center of medical and education excellence in northern Thailand. Moving toward a status of sustainable city is of great interest to an emerging city like Chiang Mai in Thailand. Sustainable urban development refers to the process to hybrid education and co-evolution between the larger subsystems that make up a city that guarantee a level of living in a city. From the preliminary findings, potential indicators of the sustainable city assessment may be grouped into three main components: environmental, social, and economic. Useful plan and guidelines from the sustainable city assessment framework we also proposed for the future development and expansion of Chiang Mai. However, no single assessment method can provide a complete assessment for a current city due to the complex nature of the city that must meet the needs of different environmental, social, and economic perspectives. In this figure, based on the Department of Public Works and Town and Country Planning, Chiang Mai is a city that has potential in many dimensions, including economic, social well-being, and green environment. In terms of economic, Chiang Mai has diversity economic and tendency to increase economic by the result of income from tourism, education, and health services. Additionally, the city has beautiful landscape, unique culture, and traditional of Lana. Chiang Mai is also the aviation hub of North that have more than 11 million passengers in 2019, and capacity can extend to 20 million passengers a year. In addition, this city has potential to be the medical hub for safety and health. In terms of education, Chiang Mai is a regional education center which supply many highly skilled people work in Chiang Mai, making it a source of learning, development, and innovation city. In terms of environment, Chiang Mai has large area for forest and water resource. Chiang Mai plan to use these resources effectively. Development of Chiang Mai city is of great importance. In this work, overview of sustainable city indicators employed for several cities was conducted. Suitability of key indices were evaluated and discussed against the context of Chiang Mai. The objective of this research was to identify sustainable city assessment framework of Chiang Mai city. Based on the Chiang Mai city development plan, biocircular green economy and transit-oriented development models was used as a guideline of selecting indicators for sustainable development. The Thai government biocircular green economy concept was also considered for economic and social development along with environmental protection to properly realize the potential of the city. The city will be able to help achieve 5 sustainable development goals consisting of sustainable of product and consumption, how to deal with chain of weather, conservation of diversity, cooperation with sustainable development, and development of economic and social. The BCG model is expected to drive for innovation, driven enterprises, consisting the agriculture, food, energy materials, health, medical, and tourism service, which is in line with the potential of Chiang Mai city. Chiang Mai city development tend to expand the city area. TOD model is a type of urban development plan design based on the transition system of improved efficiency of land policy and transit operation. TOD model has 3 key factors: density, diversity, and design, as shown in this figure. TOD model is about the development of transport network in parallel with the development of infrastructure, commercial and residential areas, or for other mixed for purpose such as land use policy that will help develop city in the long term. This table shows the analysis of strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats of Chiang Mai city to use the determining the indicators that are suitable for Chiang Mai. From SWOT analysis, it can be seen that Chiang Mai city needs a clear management plan for preliminary data collection it was found that there were 321 interesting indicators in line with criteria from Chiang Mai Smart City Strategy Plan 2019, BCG model, and TOD model. 23 indicators were selected to be used to assess the potential of Chiang Mai City in the future. From the study of various indicators can be grouped as follows. There are three main groups involved with environment are based on awareness of sustainable energy, good environmental without pollution, and environment-friendly transportation, energy, environment quality, land use, transportation, and infrastructure. Society, also known as social well-being, that is a social awareness to comfortable in work-life balancing that are accessed from the indicators consisting of health and well-being, population, labor, housing, education, violence, culture, and convenience. Economy, well-being of population in terms of gross provincial products, innovation, creativity, productivity, trade, tourism, and services. In overlap area, it can be observed that the indicator associated with the environment, society, are green area, quality of life, social responsibility, environment management, transport system, energy management, and infrastructure management. Those associated with the environment economy consist of BCG, resource consumption, environment protection, and pollution. And those associated with the society economy are life security, economic efficiency, medical service, employment rate, number of enterprises, and communication network. All three main groups can be combined with affect the sustainability of the city development. They can be used to access the potential of Chiang Mai City to be the sustainable city. For future work and overview indicators that used to access the sustainable cities around the world was carried out. They were listed and selected for sustainable city assessment framework for Chiang Mai City based on the framework of Chiang Mai City Development Plan, Thailand BCG economy, and TOD models. These indicators were related to environmental, social, and economic aspects. Furthermore, the relationship among these indicator groups were discussed. Chiang Mai City will be assessed using relevant data to make data sets in each indicator group, including environment, society, and economy. These data will be analyzed to assess the potential and way to improve this city and another with similar context towards sustainability. We wish to thank the Fund of Energy Conservation Promotion and Chiang Mai University. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Let's move on to the question and answers.
Yes.
Please.
Mr. Masula,
Yes.
How nice Chiang Mai is.
Yes. Yes, please.
Then I will present about potential of Chiang Mai path. You can see in the picture that on my presentation. And another thing is from the first start of my presentation, you can hear the music. That is Lana style music that I want to explain is in the north of Thailand, we call another name is Lana. So we have our own culture and our own tradition, our very nice one that make a lot of people want to stay here, to travel here, make our tourism can going up. Yes, and another thing about healthcare, not only modern healthcare, that we have a school of medicine, school of nurse, school of dentist, so many medicine people can study here. So we have also we have alternative medicine too, alternative healthcare, and also we have a traditional medicine that is about Lana wisdom. So and another thing about education. Education sector is going to last 10 years going to one of 4 important economic of Chiang Mai. So what it mean? It means that we can have skilled people, skilled worker to serve for economic, to serve for academic too. Yes, or also economic. That and another way, and another thing, because of Chiang Mai is medium size, so this city tend to expand the city, going more area, more people to stay for future. So now why? Because of it tend to expand. So the good plan for city plan, we need a good plan, good management of resources consumption. So energy will be consumed for every activity of the city too. So it's very important to be concerned about more efficiency consumption of energy. That is my presentation. Yes.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Are there the questions regarding this presentation? Are there any questions or comments from the audience?
Also, we talk about sustainable city too.
I have a question. In Japan, regarding the sustainability of the society, we are suffering, as an example, a major example, we are suffering the labor of women and the birth rate, and also elderly people are increasing, and that kind of social situation is weakening the Japan society. Yeah, and what is what kind of situation in Chiang Mai regarding that aspect for the sustainability of the your society?
Yes, because now my presentation from Chiang Mai now is medium size, is tend to extend. So we need a good plan for city development. Yes, so like the problem from Japan also we can study about this. Like Chiang Mai is one city in Thailand that we have a very big community of Japanese. Yes, and also I ever before this I ever joined with Chamber of Commerce, that I have worked together with Japan about long stay business, long stay tourism, that I joined with long stay foundation of Japan too. So how to make it expand sustainability, because we have to plan good plan about the people to stay, that we concern about environment and the people, how to make it human well-being. That now Chiang Mai is going to be like this, because so many people, for foreign or Thai people, to like to stay in Chiang Mai. So to plan about resource consumption, that plan about land use, about the people activity, zoning, land use, and connection between activity of each area of the city need to plan. And every activity need energy, so energy is very important to plan like more efficiency consumption. That's,
okay. How do you extract energy? How do you generate energy? What kind of energy is the most promising in Chiang Mai?
yes, now is framework, right? We see that the engine have to plan. It start from resource management, resource consumption. Like if you plan to use the area, you need infrastructure like water, like electrical, like every energy, sewage management. Everything have to plan. And your question is my next study to find what the energy that we have to concern. Like when we extend the area of city, right? We have the more transportation from each area. So we have to plan about transportation system too. That in my presentation, I talked about transit-oriented development.
Okay. Thank you very much for your nice presentation.
Yes,
okay, let's move on to the third presentation.
So next presentation is me, right?
Yes, the third presentation is Dr. Achakorn on the performance on power, hot and cold water generations of a hybrid photovoltaic thermal module. So if you're ready,
thank
please.
you. Okay, thank you, Dr. Yutana, and will share my my video to you.
Yes, you can share it.
Yeah, you see that? Okay.
Yeah, please.
Photovoltaic thermal module. This slide shows outline of our presentation. The first one is introduction of the PVT modules application, and the second one is objective of research, and then is research methodology, and also result and discussion. For the last one is a conclusion. Thailand is rather high potential on the solar energy, especially the power generation from the photovoltaic, because Thailand has high solar radiation level around 19 to 20 megajoule per square meter per day. However, in practice, the PV module temperature could be over 70 Celsius, which result to reduce the power generation. So, the PV module temperature should be reduced. The photovoltaic thermal or PVT module is an integration of the solar thermal collector and PVT module to generate both electricity and heating simultaneously. In this study, the PVT module was taken as a radiator for nocturnal cooling water production. It is a new function of the PVT module. The cool water could be used for space cooling. In our case, the cool water is used to reduce the PVT module temperature in the afternoon, increase the electricity power generation. The objective of this research, there are two objectives. The first one, to study performance of the PVT module for generating electricity, hot water in the daytime and cold water in the nighttime. The second one, to develop the mathematical model compared with the experimental result on power generation, hot and cold water production. This is an overview of the test system in this research. In this slide, show the schematic sketch of the experimental setup consisted of the PVT module with the 200 watt peak and 2 water storage for the hot water and cold water, each of 60 liters. The water from the storage was circulated by the 28 watt pump, and the power generation from the PVT module was measured by the climate. The temperature measurement position could show in this slide. There are the PVT module temperature, the ambient temperature, the inlet and outlet water temperature, and the last one is the water temperature in the storage tank. In this study, in the daytime, the PVT module absorbs heat from the solar radiation, which is transferred to the circulating water from the storage tank. Due to the water cooling, the PVT module temperature is reduced. Then we could get more the power generation from the module. In addition, the hot water could be produced and kept in the storage tank. For the nighttime, the PVT module acts as the radiator that generates radiative heat to the sky. When the radiation heat is higher than the heat gain from the heat convection for the surrounding ambient, the module temperature will be reduced. With the nocturnal cooling, the circulating water temperature then could be reduced and kept in the storage tank. So the cool water could be used for the space cooling during the daytime. In this case, we will use the cool water to reduce the PVT module in the afternoon. This figure shows the electrical performance of the tested PVT module. The generated power depends on the incident solar radiation level and the module temperature. The higher solar radiation and the lower module temperature result in a higher power output. And this equation below shows the correlation among the power output with the related parameter. This graph shows the simulation data and the experimental data of the power generation from the PVT module. It was found that the result is fit that very well. In this slide show the mathematical model for evaluating module temperature and hot water temperature in storage tank. It was found that the simulation result fitted very well with the experimental data on the clear sky day. So this slide is the hot water temperature in the storage tank. Could note that the hot water temperature could reach up to 50 Celsius. That's enough for bathing. And this slide is the result of the PVT module temperature. A set of model was developed to evaluate the cool water temperature in storage tank in the nighttime. The tests were carried out in 4 consecutive days, and water temperature could be lower than the ambient temperature and close to 20 Celsius, which might be used for space cooling. The simulated result also agree well with the experimental data. In our case, the generated cool water from the storage tank at around 20 Celsius was used to cool down the module temperature around noon. It could be seen that the module temperature dropped drastically from 55 Celsius to 45 Celsius, and the process continued to around 4:30 p.m. The module temperature could be controlled, and the water temperature in the storage tank could be up to around 40 Celsius. These figures show the results on power generation and the power efficiency when there was the PVT cooling by cool water from the cool water storage tank, as described in the previous slide. Before noon, the generated power and electrical efficiency tended to decrease due to its high module temperature. After feeding the cool water to the PVT module, the electrical performance could be enhanced. The generated power and the electrical efficiency could be increased significantly. Conclusion of this research: the PVT module could be taken as a thermal radiator for generating nocturnal cool water, which is a new function of the PVT module. The developed model could be used to predict the generated electricity, the module temperature, and hot water temperature during the daytime, and the cool water temperature during the nighttime. The simulated result fitted well with the experimental data. The PVT module temperature could be reduced during the daytime by produced nocturnal cool water when the module temperature was high. With this concept, the generated electrical power could be enhanced. Moreover, this technique was also recommended to be other functions of the PVT module in the big scale, such as solar farm to generate high amount of nocturnal cool water that could be used for space cooling on the next daytime. Acknowledgement. NRCT, COE, and Chiang Mai University. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you. Let's move on to questions and answers.
So I have a question. What is the hot water and cold water generation rate? How much you are generating?
You asked to the water flow rate, right?
Yeah.
For the
Yes.
generated hot. Yes, around 0.0018 kilogram per. Sorry, that 0.018 kilogram per square meter per second.
So how many? It should cater to how many people? Your typical setup, can it cater to one to individuals or just on the lab scale?
สำหรับ large scale เนี่ย actually for the large scale actually we have to calculate to find out the suitable flow rate for the big scale. This necessary point.
Okay. Thank
because
you.
we have the model, we can calculate that when we use to install.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you so much, Professor Casual. Thank you so much.
Let's move on to the next presentation.
Yes, the next presentation is Dr. Yotana from Chiang Mai University. He talk about the energy management in combinations with photovoltaic electricity improvements of an existing building to approach near zero energy buildings. Northern Thailand case study. If you're ready, please.
Okay, let me prepare my presentation for a second. Okay, is my slide is coming up?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. My name is Yotana Kunathorn from Chiang Mai University. Today I present energy management in combination with photovoltaic electricity improvement of an existing building to approach the near zero energy building, the Northern Thailand case study. This project has been funded by the Electricity Generating Authority of Thailand, so EGAT. So let's see that the definition of the concept of the high energy performance building. Right now, we have like two concepts and that present the high performance energy building. One is the net zero energy building in the right, and the second one is the nearly zero energy building. They are both high energy performance building, but the difference between these two concepts is that the net zero energy building is allow the export energy to the grid and the import.
Dr. Kunathorn,
yes.
Could you please delete the next slide? Could you delete the next slide section?
Delete what?
Could you just show the main material, main slide, please?
Okay, let me check first.
เรียกมันขึ้นไม่เต็มจอค่ะ
อ๋อ
เรียก
โอ
แบบ
เคครับ
เป็นสไลด์พรีวิวอะค่ะ
อ๋อโอเค sorry my bad. Okay, how is it?
Yes, thank you.
โอเค
Okay.
โอเคแล้วค่ะ
Sorry. So let's continue. The difference between these two is that the net zero energy building that is allow the energy to be exported to the grid and then take into account of balancing the energy to count as the net energy consumption for the annual energy consumptions of the building. But the nearly zero energy building is a little bit different because that they try to minimize the the energy export to the grid and then allow the energy generation to cover some or most of the energy consumption required by the building. So the net zero energy building is easy to be done by the large buildings because of when consider the PV installation area, and there should be any difficult on that. And import and export energy balance is not crucial. For the nearly zero energy building, then the intensive energy management is required because we're trying to reduce the energy consumption first, and then we try not to export the energy to the grid. And if we look into the definitions of the near zero energy buildings, and in the next slide, then the EU state that the definition of the nearly zero energy building should be done by individual country. And Thailand doesn't have the definition for the nearly zero energy building, so we searching around our neighbor country, and we found that Japan has the definition for the nearly zero energy building by using the net annual energy consumption reference to their to the reference building. As you can see in the graph on the right, is that the reference energy building index is right here. So any building that will claim themselves to become a near zero energy building should have the net annual energy consumption no more less than 25% of the reference building. So if any building has reduced the energy consumption net energy consumption down less than 25, and then they increase the energy generation, then they start to claim themselves as a near zero energy building. But if we have like two buildings in the same area or the same net annual energy consumption, then the one that is further away to the right will have a lower performance. So when we take a look at this definition, and then we choose the Japan definition to be our reference, because in Thailand, we also have the energy consumption index of the reference building that has been defined by the Department of Energy of Thailand. So this research, we propose the improvement of the existing building to approach the nearly zero energy building by using the energy management techniques to reduce energy consumption, and also we use the PV system with energy storage to make this building become a nearly zero energy building. And the questions for our research is that what is the best performance we can get from the existing building retrofit, and what is the cost of investment. So our demonstrating site is located in Lampang province, and they have an average sun's hour of about 5 hours a day. So the building itself is a training center with the age of 25 years. They have like the overall building area about 1,300 square meters. The electricity demand with 150 kilowatt peak and the average of 59 kilowatt daily. And the total or the annual energy consumption is about like 140,000 kilowatt hour per year. And the energy index of this building before improvement is 116 kilowatt hour per square meter per year. The building itself has a 6 office, which is daily use, and also 5 conference room, which is used by scheduling only. And also there has a 2-floor building. So our research starting by doing the energy analysis by install a long-term energy monitoring system. So we install 21 monitoring sensor. One is on the main meter of the building, and then 2 on the lighting panel for the first floor and second floor, and all 17 air conditioning systems. So the data has been logging every 15 minutes for 1 year. And the result, the example of result is on this slide. On the upper left, you can see that the building total energy demand is highest in summer, in the April, and then dropping down in the rainy season and also in the winter. The blue one here is the energy consumption that is used by the air conditioning system, and the yellow one or the orange one is the lighting system, and the gray one is the energy that has been taken to the neighbor building. And the energy consumption is going along with the peak demand. When we take a look at the energy consumption between each floor, we don't see any difference in both lighting system and all the AC system. So when we take a look at the building energy profile in 24 hours, this is the example. So in the night, the building, the energy consumption is about 2 to 5 kilowatt. And then when in the daytime, the lighting system is pretty much steady at 15 or 14 kilowatt. And then when the lighting with the air conditioning system is shown in the yellow line, is that the energy consumption of the building is pumped up. And also when the conference is used, then the total consumption of the building is up to the red line here. You can see that this is at the yellow line is a steady load in the daily usage, and the red one that we pump up here is only by schedule only. So our energy management strategy that we propose to this building is, one, we try to improve the appliance efficiency. So that includes we replacing the low efficiency light bulb, and we analyze the efficiency of the air conditioning system and looking for the efficiency and also the working hour. And the second one is that we put the high efficiency system to maximum use by set priority for the conference room that has the high efficiency first. So by our strategy, we repair 788 light bulbs to the LED, and then we change some of the air conditioning system and also revise their cooling load. And in the renewable energy, we install 55 kilowatt of the PV on the rooftop, and also with the 50 kilowatt hour of the battery as our energy storage system. The graph on the left is show that the energy consumption before improvement, and after we install all the system and then we start to record the data, the energy consumption of the building has been dropped down, and the power demand of the building is dropped by 55%. And the graph in the right is showing how is the energy profile of the building when the PV system operating in firm mode. So as you can see that the blue column is the engine, the energy building load, and also the black column is the energy that we use from the grid, and the yellow line is the PV power that we obtain from the solar energy. So as you can see that when the building start and then the energy storage start to discharge because of the PV is not enough. It's not enough to handle the building load, so the energy storage start to kick out. And then when the PV is over the building load, then the battery will be charged, and then we maintain the energy consumption in daytime dropped down to nearly zero energy consumption in daytime. But in nighttime, we shut down the battery system, so we use the energy from the grid. We did a comparison of the PV operation mode in different mode. For example, the peak shifting mode. We use PV only when the peak demand of the building is occur, which is in the afternoon. And also we did the load shifting mode, where we store the energy, the PV energy to use in any time we need. And also the backup mode, which is to use the PV and energy storage as the building GPS. So the table below here is the comparison result. We can see that the firm mode, the peak cutting down of the PV is less than the peak shifting mode. But in the overall saving of the energy, we can save the total energy of the building down by 71%. So this is the summary of our energy saving and investment cost, and is shown in this table. By changing the light bulb to LED, then we can reduce the power demand by 50%. As you can see, it's dropped out from 19.5 to 9.5. And with the investment cost about like $8,000, and the payback period is 2.3. For changing the air conditioning to a VRV system and revise of some cooling load, we can reduce the power demand of the air conditioning system from 130 to 106. And with the investment cost about $66,000, and the payback period is about 7.5. And this is the shading that we install around the building to decrease the heat that is coming to the building. So we can decrease the heating load down by 4.17 kilowatt, and the investment cost is $13,000 with the payback period of 3.9. And the solar energy that we install and energy storage that we install. The solar is we use the cost of investment is about like $73,000, and payback period is 5.1. And the energy storage, the cost is $50,000, and the payback period is 17.7. This is the weak point of the energy retrofit system, because it has a very long payback period, and the cost is expensive. But comparing in the total, then we have a total investment of $211,000 with the total with the overall payback period is 6.4. So when we look at the nearly zero energy building chart that we refer from Japan, right here is the value standard of the energy saving buildings that defined by the Department of Energy of Thailand. This is the reference energy consumption index for the commercial building. And before improvement, the building is right here, about like 116 kilowatt hour per square meter per year. When we install the LED, then the energy consumption is decreased down to the yellow point here, with the cost of about like $6 per square meter. When we add in the air conditioning system changing, then the energy consumption is dropped down to about like 71 kilowatt hour per square meter per year, with the total investment cost of $67 per square meter. This is the accumulation cost, includes the LED also. And then this tool has put our building down to the near zero energy building ready already. And then with the energy generation system, then we pump up the energy generation for our building up to here with a 55 kilowatt on the rooftop. And then our energy building is in the near zero energy building area already. So, but when we compare to if we don't do anything on the energy management system, and by install the PV to be the same level here, we can see that we have to be, the estimate cost is about like $100 and $112 per square meter. Even though the cost of investment is lower than the energy management plus the PV. But the thing is that since installing the PV itself alone, then the performance, the overall performance of the building, by looking at the net annual energy consumption, is lower than we doing the energy management here with the PV. So the conclusion is that we can conclude in the three issue is that the detailed monitoring system of the energy analysis can greatly enhance the effectiveness of our energy management measure. And then also the PV system and energy storage when operate in firm mode is provide the most utilization of solar energy than the other modes. The nearly zero energy building should be conducted with both energy efficiency measure and renewable energy in terms of the building performance. For the recommendation of our future work is that the optimization model should be conducted to confirm our demonstration work and to confirm that if the strategy is suitable to cover any case that's coming in the future. And also the nearly zero compound or community may provide a better financial feasibility of this energy management. So that is all for my presentation. So thank you for your attention. Any question?
Thank you. Let's move on to the questions and answers. Are there any questions from audience? I have a short question.
Yes.
You're showing the peak at April.
Yes.
Energy consumption peak at April.
Yes.
What is the reason for the peak at that season?
Because it's the hot seasons, and then in Lampang, the ambient temperature is up to about like maybe close to 40 Celsius, and then most of their energy is go to the air conditioning system, and also the schedule of the training, and usually be done by that time. That is why the peak energy is coming up.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
But the yearly or the annual average is about 58 or 59 kilowatt average for the whole year.
Mm-hmm. The energy consumption in December is very less, very small, correct?
In what?
In energy, the building total energy demand in December is very small.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Because at that time in December 2019, and I think that by that time it's about like it has a long holidays, and also the outfit is in the winter, so they decrease the load. As you can see, the lighting doesn't change much, but the air conditioning system is dropping down.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Okay, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move to the next presentation. Under 90, thermodynamic analysis of an air source ejector as its compression, absorption, resorption, refrigeration system. Presented by Mr. Eno Kama from Indian Institute of Technology. Have you read this, please?
Yeah, hi, good afternoon all. Am I audible?
You can check
Yes.
this slide.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I have shared my screen. Please confirm that it is visible to all. Is my screen visible?
Screen is visible, but we cannot hear you.
Yeah, okay. Good afternoon all. I am Anil Kumar, PhD research scholar from Department of Energy Science at IIT Bombay. I'm going to present our research on air source ejector assisted compression, absorption, resorption, refrigeration. So the content of the presentation are as follows. First, I'll discuss the background. Then I'll introduce the vapor absorption resorption cycle and the proposed case. After that, I'll discuss the methodology of this research, key results, conclusions, and future work. So this is the schematic of the conventional ammonia water absorption refrigeration cycle, in which the rich solution from the absorber is pumped and it preheated in the solution heat exchanger, and the preheated solution will enter into the generator. In the generator, the solution receives heat from the external source, that is Q.gen. And after the desorption process in the generator, the mixture of water and ammonia vapor will driven into the rectifier. So rectifier is a heat exchanger which separates the ammonia and the water, and the pure ammonia vapor will enter into the condenser, and the saturated water which is driven into the generator. So in the condenser, the vapor ammonia rejects the condensation heat to the heat sink, and the saturated solution, that is 10, which passes through a throttle valve and enters to the evaporator. In the evaporator, it receives heat from the cooling load, and the vapor is get absorbed in the absorber. So this configuration has limitations. So the first limitation is that it has low performance, which is in the range of 0.5 to 0.6. The system is bulky, and that we can see that approximately the volume is 2 times and weight is 4 times than the conventional vapor compression system. It has high initial cost. So if we understand the causes of the limitations, the first is the high operating pressure values. So the highest operating pressure of the system, that is pH, is corresponding to the vapor pressure of ammonia at condenser pressure, and the lowest pressure of the operating system is the vapor pressure of ammonia at evaporator temperature. Additionally, it needs a rectifier, which is an additional heat exchanger, and it requires extra cooling. So these are the limitations, and to overcome these limitations, researchers have proposed the vapor absorption resorption cycle. The key difference of the vapor absorption resorption and vapor absorption is as it has a resorber and a desorber, which replaces the condenser and the evaporator of the conventional system. So it has the advantage over the conventional system as follows. So let's say the resorber is operating as 25 degrees Celsius, and at this temperature, the vapor pressure of ammonia is 10 bar, and which is the maximum value of the highest operating pressure. And the generator is operating at 80 degrees Celsius, and at this, the vapor pressure of water is 1 bar. So it provides an operating range. In this operating range, we can modulate or we can module the operating pressure of the system. So this is as shown as in this graph. So the X-axis is showing the highest pressure of the system. Y-axis is representing lowest pressure of the system. So it provides operating range for the pressure modulation. Let's say for a highest pressure of 6 bar, the lowest pressure can be modulated between 2.5 or 2.4 bar to 1.1 bar. So it provides an additional degree of freedom. So what we can say is that at a certain temperature and pressure with the mass fraction, we can change the operating pressure. Now, but it observed in the literature that as the pressure reduces, the system COP decreases. So it has also limitation. The limitation is the cycle COP decreases as the pH value lowers. So the objective of our research is to propose a configuration that can work at the absorber pressure of 40 degrees Celsius. Let's say it doesn't need a heat sink except for the ambient air, and how to increase the performance of the system. So we proposed a ejector assisted compression absorption resorption cycle in which this ejector is integrated at the absorber to boost the absorber pressure. So the primary flow to this ejector is the stream which is coming from the generator, and the secondary flow is the bleeding line. So it boosts the absorber pressure here, and the compressor is integrated to boost the pressure of ammonia vapor that is exiting from the desorber to the absorber pressure. Now, the methodology of this research is as follows. Firstly, we perform the numerical modeling of the absorption resorption cycle. We performed the validation. We validated the conventional cycle with the results, with the experimental results and the simulation results. After that, we performed the numerical modeling of the proposed system, that is the ejector assisted compression absorption resorption cycle. We performed the simulation and the parametric study. So the COP of our system is defined as the refrigerating effect to the heat which is required with input to the generator and the compression work. So the input values for the simulation are adopted as follows. Generator temperature was set as 80 degrees Celsius. Resorber temperature, this is also equal for the absorber temperature is also equal to the resorber temperature. So it also set as 40 degrees Celsius. The desorber temperature is -5. Compressor isentropic efficiency was set as 60%. And so the nozzle efficiency, mixing section efficiency, and diffuser efficiency of the ejectors are taken as 85%, 90%, and 80% respectively. So the results of our research is as follows. This is the variation of COP with in relation to the compression ratio at a certain operating pressure. So it can be observed that with increasing the compression ratio, the system COP increases, and also with increasing the higher pressure. So pH, let's say pH equals to 14.5 bar, the system has the highest COP. And the pH equals to 11.5 bar, the system has the lowest COP. This is because as the system lowers, as the pressure ratio, as the operating pressure lowers, the heat required to the generator increases, as it can be seen here. So at the higher operating pressure, that is pH equals to 14.5 bar, the system has lowest the requirement for the external heat, that is the Q dot gen. And as the pressure decreases, it increases the external heat requirement. Also, the effect of generator temperature is analyzed, and it can be observed that as the generator temperature increases, the system COP increases, and after a certain maximum value, it stabilizes with increasing the generator temperature. Sorry. And also, as the desorber temperature increases, the system COP increases, because with increasing the desorber temperature, the cooling capacity of the system sorry, increases. And in relation to the ejector pressure ratio, as it has observed, it may be observed that with increasing the ejector pressure ratio, the system COP increases. So for the ejector pressure ratio of 2, the system has the maximum COP, and it makes some COP because with increasing the ejector temperature, it boosts the absorber pressure, and with increasing the absorber pressure, the heat requirement to the external heat requirement decreases. So the key conclusion of our study is as follows. First, the ejector that is integrated to boost the absorber pressure, it boosts the absorber pressure. The proposed system achieves a maximum COP of 0.61, which is 41% higher than the conventional absorption system for the operating conditions adopted for our research. And additionally, the COP increases with increasing the desorber temperature and ejector pressure ratio. Sorry. So the future work can be a techno-economic study of the configuration. The part load, also the part load analysis of the compression, absorption, resorption integrated to heat source can be studied. Apart from it, the CFD analysis of the fluid flow inside the ejector can also be performed. So thank you for your kind attention. Yeah, I'm open to any questions.
Okay. Let's move on to the questions and answers. I have a question. What is the role of the ejector in your cycle?
So what is the role of ejector?
Yes. Yeah.
So as we can see in this configuration, there is no rectifier. So as there is no rectifier, the mass fraction of the vapor which leaves the generator, that is 5, and the mass fraction which leaves mass fraction of the vapor which leaves the desorber at 15 is different. So it resulting into the unbalancing of the mass into the cycle. So to balance the mass, overall mass in the cycle, the bleeding line is used. So this bleeding line, suppose is operating at desorber pressure. So in order to boost the pressure of this bleeding line, this ejector is integrated. Yeah. Is this? Yeah.
Thank you. And how do you control the temperature and the pressure of the ejector?
Yeah. So actually, the primary flow, that is the that at 6 is governing is providing a pressure potential or a pressure gradient inside the ejector, due to which the bleeding line flow, the secondary flow, will driven into the ejector, and the mixing. So actually, I have not included the schematic of the ejector in this presentation, so you can refer that my paper for that. But I'm explaining that. So at the exit of the ejector consists of 3 components. One is the nozzle, another is the mixing section, and the third one is the diffuser. So the nozzle, through the nozzle, the primary flow, that is 6, which flows and it reduces the pressure. So the pressure is reduced in such a way that it creates a pressure gradient at the exit of the nozzle. Due to that pressure gradient, this secondary flow from the bleeding line will driven into the ejector. And in the mixing section, they both mix and exchange the momentum, such that at the end of the mixing section, the Mach number of the flow should be 1. Because the diverging section of the diffuser or the diverging section will act as a diffuser for that. So the diffuser will enhance, will increase the pressure of the mixed flow.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.
Are there any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much for your presentation. Let's move on to the next presentation.
Yes. Thank you very much. Really nice talks. Okay, next presentation 124. Designs and multi-objective optimizations of horizontal axial wind turbine designed by Ms. Shalini Verma. If you're ready, please.
Yes. Is this screen visible?
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Shalini Verma, PhD scholar in MNIT Allahabad, to present here about the design and multi-objective optimization of a horizontal axis wind turbine. And motivation behind to select the wind energy area is its increasing rate worldwide as well as in India. And as from graph, it can be depicted that use of wind power is increasing yearly. And by visualizing the graph, the data from for last 10 years, it is find out that the installation capacity has increased by 275% worldwide and 192% in India in 2020 as compared to 2010. And about novelty of the study, a number of research has been done in past by various researchers to improve the wind turbine performance as the airfoil by changing the shape of airfoil and optimization of the airfoil and using the rotor diameter and other flow control devices by using the single objective optimization. But there is limitation in the comprehensive structural performance of HWT by using the multi-objective optimization method. So this present study focuses on blade geometrical parameters such as chord and twist distribution by to optimizing the aerodynamic and structural performance of the wind turbine using the multi-objective genetic algorithm. In present study, following objectives are followed. First one is the validation of the aerodynamic performance by using the blade element momentum methods, and after that optimization of blade parameters like chord and twist for aerodynamic and structural performance by using the multi-objective genetic algorithm. And after that further an optimal solution is find out against the two objective functions. One is maximum power output and another is minimum mass. And further the structural improvement is done of blade and also analyzed the structural performance in terms of on-mine hysteresis and deflections. In next coming slides, basically methodologies used in this wind turbine optimization and association of blade element momentum method and genetic algorithm is discussed. And here for blade element momentum analysis, the blade is radially divided into number of elements as shown in figure 1. As shown in figure 1, element at a radial distance small r, and each element is analyzed as a two-dimensional airfoil, and the aerodynamic forces as shown in figure 2 is calculated according to the force applied as in this figure 2. And finally the all BM theory is followed using this flow chart from dividing the blade element to calculating the various parameters like angle of attack and lift and drag coefficient and normal and tangential force coefficient. And basically it is the iterative procedures, and if convergence find out, then we calculate the power and thrust and the torque, and if not converged, then again we repeat the steps. Next, this is about the multi-objective optimization using genetic algorithm. And basically genetic algorithm is implemented as a computer simulation based on biological evolution. And this algorithm creates a population of possible solution fitness function, and from that fitness function we select a group of fit parent solution, and then again reproduce these parents to create a fresh group of populations, and then these new populations are used for next iteration. And the algorithm basically terminates when we find either a maximum number of generations or a satisfactory fitness level has been reached. So This here figure 4 represent the flow chart for application of a multi-objective genetic algorithm for wind turbine optimization. And here an open source code basically horizontal axis rotor performance optimization multi-objective code is used here, which is produced from NREL, is used here to apply multi-objective genetic algorithm, and it starts from importing the wind turbine specifications into the program and followed by the parametric calculations for this structural and aerodynamic performance. And basically this optimization is an iterative process, and here hence various parameters for algorithm are selected like wind velocity and rotation of wind turbine, and these are some objective functions for annual energy production. And here chord and twist angle is varied between this lower bound and upper bound. And in here the baseline blade geometry is designed using Q blade and the data taken from Hand et al. Reference from Hand et al. 2001. And here the optimization parameters is considered like number of populations are 200, and after that the maximum generation we find here 500, and mutation probability adaptive type mutation probability was used to prevent and unwanted and impracticable mutations. And basically the chord length and twist angle are varied between this lower boundary value and upper boundary value for 5 different control points. For the secondary objective is set for a goal to reduce the blade mass, and initially cross section of the blade are modeled without the shear web, and as shown in figure 6. It is assumed as a thin shell cantilever beam type with isotropic material characteristics, and the greatest root greatest root bending moment encountered over a variety of flow rates causes the span-wise bending moment, and the strain is calculated using equation as shown here. And here ASEP basically represents the factor of safety and considered as 1.2, and this is a moment that occurs due to bending, and basically C is the distance from the neutral axis, and subscript small r is the elastic property. And further, this is the validation of BEM method. Here in this figure 7, this is a graph between power and wind velocity, and for the case of validation, we got a good result between 9 meter per second and 13 meter per second. Here less than 5% error is found, but at lower velocity the error is a little bit higher. And further, these are the result and discussion part. Here initially 200 number of populations are randomly selected within the specified constraints, and after that we find the 500 generations from Pareto front as shown here in figure 8, the generation evolution, and this shows an increment in the mass of the blade and as well as the annual energy production. Based on these 500 generations, we find 15 optimum blade forms, in which we just selected 3 optimal solutions, optimal solution 1, 2 and 3, for which the annual energy production is increasing, and after optimal solution 2 it starts decreasing. So we selected here the optimal solution 2 for further analysis. As here we find out the annual energy production at 38.93 megawatt hour per year, and the blade mass is 82.51%. And this is the this graph of figure 9 represent the power production comparison, and it depicts that the significant improvement in the performance at wind velocity 8 meter per second is higher, and here the increase in power is approximately 50% in compared to baseline blade and optimal solution 2. And for figure 10, this is between the power coefficient and wind speed, and here at 6 meter per second we got an increment of approximately 5%, and this is from 0.409 to 0.431. And so here we got that optimal solution 2 has shown the most increased power performance than the baseline blade, and slightly more than the other two cases of optimal solution 1 and optimal solution 3. Further, the graph 11 are for the chord and twist angle variation for 3 optimal solutions, and here figure 12 is the optimal blade designed with Q blade. And since for initial analysis we just considered the blade as thin shell type, and this is a limitation, so withdraw this limitation. Here we improved the structural design of the blade, and also we designed the interior structure of the blade using Q blade, and due to also adding the interior structure, the weight of the blade increases. However, we design however, to withstand bending forces, the cross section of wind turbine must be reinforced, and this wind turbine must be reinforced using the shear web to provide the strength to the blade design and provide some structural reinforcement in the cross section. And after several trials, we find out the thickness of the shear web is chosen as 0.06% of the chord length along the whole blade span, and monotonically by changing the thickness of
Sorry. Hello. Tarini, please check your connects. Connect ใครวะ Connect ผมหรือ Connect เขาเนี่ย Hello.
Yes, please. Our
The connection maybe has problem.
Oh. Is there any problem or issue?
Maybe problem with connection and for audience.
Audience, okay.
I think Harun, it is from the presenter side. It is not our side.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
Hello.
Okay. It's already come.
Oh,
Hello?
she's back again.
Yes, we can hear you.
Is it visible?
Yes, visible. Please.
Okay.
please
So
start.
here we find for the sorry. For the optimum improved structural blade design, we find that the maximum deflection at x-axis is still lower, which is 1.65 meter, and for this z-axis it is 28.9 meter. And also from figure 14 we get the maximon on message stresses at the root which is 16.35 megapascal, which is also again within the elastic limit, that is 15.6 gigapascal. thus this is conclusion and recommendation part. Here we have used multi-objective genetic algorithm to optimize the maximum annual energy production and minimum mass. The algorithm basically utilizing the optimization process yielded a set of Pareto optimal solutions, of which 3 best solutions were chosen, and the optimized blade showed a maximum increase of nearly 50% in rated power and approximately 5% increase in maximum power coefficient, and up to 13% reduction in blade mass. And after improving the structural design of the blade using the shear web, the mass of the blade is slightly increased, but is still lower, approximately 5.11% lower than the baseline blade. And also the structural analysis result also showed that the maximum stress along the span was well within the elastic limit range. And for further analysis, we can use these estimations for higher flow velocities, and Navier-Stokes analytical techniques may be used in optimized wind turbines. And a blade element momentum analysis tool can be enhanced to analyze the wind speed that are unsteady and also turbulent flows. And the airfoil data set may be expanded by adding data for higher and lower Reynolds number values. And these are the references that I have used to prepare this PPT. And thank you, Nico.
Thank you very much for your wonderful talk. And let's move on to the questions and answers. Are there any questions from audience? I have a question.
Yes.
You selected 3 optimum solutions.
Yes.
And there while the blade performance is increased, you could reduce the mass of the blade. And how, generally speaking, and how can you achieve the good performances at the same time? And how can you achieve the good performance with reducing the blade mass? How the section, cross section of the blade is changed while having a good performance?
Is actually I am changing the blade geometry in terms of chord length and also twist angle, and so that there is a change in the performance of the wind turbine. And also I have not considered the interior shape of the blade for these 3 optimal solutions. And after adding the internal structure of the blade, blade mass is little bit improved, but it is still lower than this baseline blade case. Not adding interior structure of the blade is a limitation. So that's why I have again studied for the structural improvement of the blade.
I see. And in your evaluation of the annual power generation, you showed equation there.
Yes.
You wrote some P, yes, P, yes, probability density function. And in the evaluation of annual energy production, how can you evaluate, what kind of data did you use for the annual the data for probability density function?
Actually this is from the Weibull distribution. which is a graph between the probability distribution function and the wind velocity that I have used during the MATLAB coding.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. The climate, the annual climate change is included in the estimation?
No, actually not.
I see. Thank you very much. Are there any questions from audience?
A quick question, please.
Yes.
From the result that you show wind speed from 5 meters per second.
Yes.
What happened at the low speed? Any comment, please? At low wind speed.
Actually, it may be of not include. Basically, when we not use the interior structure of the blade, I think it may be a possibility to little bit difference in the power at lower velocities.
Okay.
Okay. The time is up. Thank you very much for your wonderful presentation, and everyone, and thank you very much for your wonderful contribution, great contribution to this session. We'd like to close this session. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Kaozu Matsura. Thank you for your great organizing this session. And we would like to ask you to turn on your camera so that we can take a group photo for our record.
Yes. Audiences, could you turn on your cameras?
Group photo, please. Okay, and Dr. Harun will capture the picture for us.
Thank you very much. I have taken the picture. Thank you, and see you tomorrow at the same time.
Again, we wish to thank Professor Kazuo Matsura for helping with the session, and thank you all the participants and audience. Hopefully, we'll see you again tomorrow and on Saturday for your participation.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, take care. Anything housekeeping, Dr. Harun? Or we can be off.
Okay, thank you, Nakron. Very well done for today, and hopefully tomorrow we'll go on and we'll continue until it is finalized, finished. We have to take care of this session, all those things.
Okay, we should let Dr. Harun to rest because he's been working very hard.
Not rest at this moment. Maybe after finishing these things.
Okay.
Now, Harun, is there any everything went smoothly, right? There is no hiccup, nothing.
Not really. We.
Okay, that's good, because I didn't see any problem, because I tried my best to pop in all the session.
Yes. Yeah. Any participant can go and join any session without any problem.
Yeah, I think that's really good. Okay, yes. So then and Professor Kazuo Matsura, thank you for your
long time no see. Long time no see.
Because the organizing chair, Professor Macron, and Secretary Harun, I think they are very happy.
And also thank the co-chair, Dr. Yuttana Mona.
And also Dr. Yuttana. Yeah, sorry, I did not actually ignore you. I was coming to you. By this time, already Professor Nakron already mentioned about it. That's great. That's great. Okay, so I'll see you all tomorrow, because
tomorrow, yes, for our
because
second day.
conference is not very big one, but if we attend, and then we know each other like a family.
Okay.
So please try your best to attend tomorrow. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, so have a nice day.
Goodbye, goodbye for now, Professor Alam.
And Shalini,
Bye
thank
bye,
you for
Haru.
your hard work. But although your connection was a little bit a problem, but it came up well.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Well done. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.